Welcome to the nation's birthplace. Before I start, I want to say thank you to all of those who worked so hard to make today happen. I began this effort 2 years ago, standing with Mary Gay Scanlon a couple blocks from here, to attempt to bring us back to literally the room where it all began. So I want to thank Speaker Johnson, Leader Jeffries, especially their staffs, and in particular, I want to thank the leadership and staff of Independence National Historical Park. They've worked long hours to make sure these buildings and grounds are ready for this historic week. I'm grateful for their dedication, professionalism, and stewardship of this sacred place, and I hope you'll join me in giving them a round of applause. So I said moments ago, welcome, but I could have said welcome back to what was our original House chamber for a decade. You know, it was 250 years ago on this day, July 2nd, that our predecessors in Congress voted for independence and voted to create the United States of America. Now, that week, it was uncertain how the vote would turn out. As members of Congress, we're not unfamiliar with this. After all, we face it every week on the rule vote. But sure enough, as Benjamin Franklin hoped, all clocks struck at once. That night, John Adams wrote to his beloved wife, Abigail, "The second day of July, 1776, will be the most memorable epoch in the history of America. It will be celebrated with pomp and parade, games, sports, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to another, from this time forevermore." And of course, he was right, though slightly off on the date. What they did here was truly remarkable. The 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence were signing their death warrants. After all, they knew what they faced had they not succeeded. But in signing that declaration, in voting for independence, in creating the United States of America, they did something that is one of the most significant events, I believe, in not just our nation's history, but in human history. They gave birth, or finally recognized, the rights we all have, the rights not just of one people, but the rights of all people. Now, I know there are some in our society today who might have real questions and doubts about where we are as a country, feel that we are too wrought with divisions of party or race or ethnicity. Those doubts, those questions, are not new to our time. In fact, 50 years ago, President Ford was right here in Philadelphia at Independence Hall and Congress Hall to celebrate what was then the nation's bicentennial. I'm going to quote his words because while he was speaking in 1976, I believe they speak to us today. "It is fitting that we ask ourselves hard questions, even on a glorious day like today. Are the institutions under which we live working? Are they working the way they should? Are the foundations laid in 1776 strong enough and sound enough to resist the tremors of our times? Are our God-given rights secure, our hard-won liberties protected?" The very fact, he continued, that we can ask these questions, that we can freely examine and criticize our society, is cause for confidence itself. Many of the voices raised in doubt centuries ago serve to strengthen and improve the decisions finally made. The American adventure is a continuing process. As one milestone is passed, another is sighted. As we achieve one goal, we raise our sights. My dear colleagues, it might seem a little curious to quote on this 250th anniversary from a different event, our Civil War. But truly, one of the most moving letters I've ever read in reflecting about the American Revolution was from a young, successful attorney from Rhode Island who volunteered early to fight for the Union Army in the Civil War. He, on the eve of battle, mind you, wrote a letter to his wife. "My dear wife, indications are very strong that we shall move in a few days, perhaps tomorrow. Lest I should not be able to write you again, I feel impelled to write a few lines that may fall under your eye when I shall be no more. Our movement may be one of severe conflict and death to me. Not my will, but thine, O God, be done. If it is necessary that I should fall on the battlefield for my country, I am ready. I have no misgivings about it or lack of confidence in the cause in which I engaged, and my courage does not halt or falter. I know how strongly American civilization now leans upon the triumph of government, and how great a debt we owe to those who went before us through the blood and suffering of the American Revolution. I am willing, perfectly willing, to lay down all my joys in this life to help maintain this government and pay that debt." 1 week later, he was killed in the first battle of Bull Run. Sullivan Ballou understood the work begun here in Philadelphia did not end here in 1776. The promise of this country had to be fought for by generations of Americans who refused to accept that liberty and equality belonged only to some. That struggle is not separate from the American story. It is the American story. What makes us this country, what makes us exceptional, is that for 250 years, Americans have kept fighting to bring this nation ever closer to its founding ideals. And so, my dear colleagues, on this special occasion, as I close, it is my solemn wish that we, members of Congress, rededicate ourselves to the great work of this country and the noble purpose of our independence. Thank you.